Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soul and Screen. In this particular video, I'm going to be posing another question, and hopefully we can get into a good conversation in regards to it. For those who may be new to this channel, while I absolutely will be doing reviews on different television shows and movies and things like that, I also want to bring up conversations that are geared to the biblical and spiritual aspects of our lives. For instance, if you've caught any of the reviews I've done or the conversations and videos that I've done on soul ties, I'm using the television shows and movies and characters and various storylines and scenes to try to bring some kind of visual, life aspects to how certain spiritual and biblical principles show up in our lives, whether we know it or not. So with that being said, the conversation I want to talk about today is, I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's this the saying that's out there that you attract who you are. And hopefully this discussion will sound more of a guiding type of directional or insight to help bring some revelation to those of us maybe who are not in relationships and are looking to be in one versus, those who are kind of already in them and may not be in a healthy relationship or situation. And this insight will bring some revelation. And I call it an insight because I received it during prayer, and I've heard it with some people that I follow that are more seasoned and mature in the Word of God than I am, and things like that. But so again, hopefully it won't sound judgmental. But the thought that you attract who you are. If we are to utilize the same characters and storylines within Tyler Perry's Sistas, and you kind of look at some of the various couples that are in this show. For instance, Karen and Aaron. So if you attract who you are, like, let's look at what's going on in their lives. They both have been in relationships where they have consistently been cheated on and are, as a result, wounded and hurt and things like that, and lash out in different ways, of course, and the effects of those particular hurts and wounds are coming out differently in them. But if you think about it, they attracted each other, right? Because they're both in a wounded position. They've both been cheated on. They both are, trying to find really kind of who they are and understand their love, who they want to love them and find that person. And so it kind of brings some validity to it if you think about it, because both of these people gravitated again to each other due to the wounds and the hurts, and they experienced similar things. Now, what society calls it is trauma bonding, right? But it's really spiritual. It's really wound attracting wound. You know what I mean? And with that being said, again, not that they are necessarily, doing it in the same way, but it's wound attracting wound. What I mean is, like with Aaron, he's such in search of someone who, the way that how quickly he fell in love with Karen really talks about the wound, right? And he honestly doesn't even really, if he looks at it, he will see that it's a similar situation, but he's so broken. He's so broken by what happened with his wife before he divorced her, and then she took her own life, that he's not seeing that he's picking up the same person or spirit in a different costume. So just because Karen is a black woman and his wife or ex-wife was a white woman, he's still attracting the same person. He is attracting someone who is not loyal, who is not, who cheats, who does not value him for whatever reason. In all honesty, the reason why the person does it typically is because they're operating out of their own situation and wounds and stuff. But what I'm saying is he attracted the same person and she just looks different. But Karen is absolutely no different from who his wife was. And I say that because we don't know how he ended up finding out that his wife cheated on him, because I don't think it really explains, but she did cheat on him, and it was his wife at the time. And I'm not really sure why everybody is kind of skating over the fact that Karen pretty much cheated on Aaron, because at the time that she slept with Zach, Karen and Aaron were absolutely pursuing a relationship, meaning they were dating. He was staying a night at her house. He was sleeping in her bed. You know what I mean? They were going out on, kind of dates, so to speak, but what I'm saying is that's a relationship that's being pursued. He got her to, invite her to a hotel to stay with her, to stay with him until, things got, situated in her house. And, you know what I mean? You don't bring a man over to your home daily and invite him into your home daily. And I want to see you when I get here and just wait for me and that kind of stuff, when you are not pursuing a relationship with this person. You know what I mean? You don't just invite people into your safe space like that. I mean, the man had a key, so he was absolutely staying at her house. He was sleeping with her. The only thing was he wasn't willing to have sex at that point in time. He wanted to wait till marriage, but they were in a relationship. So once she decided to have sex with Zach, which it was a decision that she could have stopped at any time, she cheated on him. She cheated on Aaron. At the time, he was a guy that she was pursuing a relationship with. So she cheated on him. And then after he literally walks in and catches them in the act. And then he sits there. Now, this is a woman that he just met, right? He sits there and then waits till she comes out to have an adult conversation about it. I'm not actually mad at that part of it, because fine. Like, if he wants to know, like, what happened and what's going on, gotcha. But so he does that, and then he tells her, you need to figure out what you want, and, kind of don't call me until you do. And that's fine. But he ends up calling her like the very next day or within a matter of days, however you want to do Tyler Perry time on the TV shows, and tells her, like, basically, I'm sorry. Like, he's apologizing for her cheating on him. He's apologizing because he's wounded. You see what I'm saying? Like, so he's literally attracting himself, who he is. He's broken. Karen's broken. Or wounded, if you want to use that terminology. She's broken. Why? Because her and Zach's relationship is not how she wants it. He's cheated on her multiple times, and she's cussing him out and possibly cheating on him at times. And I say possibly because the Rico thing sounds like she was, kind of sleeping around too, but don't know about it. Zach just don't know about it. And the thing is, with these women that Zach were dating, Karen just ended up finding out about it from one way or the other. And in all honesty, it's just kind of messy, because unfortunately, sometimes women just messy. You know what I mean? They know you in a relationship. They still kind of want to, sleep with you. And then when they find out that, like, dang, that sex was way better than I thought, all of a sudden, the soul tie is made, and now they want to just kind of go and ruin and kind of go tell the woman all of a sudden. But it's kind of messy, because if you telling them because you want them, then that's not really you looking out or anything like that, especially if you knew he had a woman. So anyway, what I'm saying is, Karen and Aaron are attracting each other, who they are. Now, if you go to skirt over a little bit to like the Zach and Fatima situation. Now, nobody's perfect, right? So you're never going to attract a perfect person, because we're not a perfect person. Like, the only perfect person there was that walked in the earth is Jesus Christ, period. And that's just it. So, this is not, I'm not a Christian who tries to judge people as they go through their various journeys and fall and make mistakes and things like that, because that's what the Bible tells us we're going to do. You know what I mean? So I don't think that we can be perfect here on earth. I do believe we go through our journeys and our struggles, and we are in the path of becoming more in his image and likeness, and that's as best as we can do. So with that being said, while Zach is absolutely a flawed person, he definitely was still trying to better himself. He wanted to be a better person. He made the decision to go to that chain breakers meeting because he wanted to be better. Like, it was never, even when you listen to his side of the story with Karen, not saying that, we know the fullness of it, but he did say that he tried. He gave her checks and everything. It wasn't the amount of money that she wanted him to make, but he was putting forth effort. If he was bringing her checks and putting forth some monies and things like that to help contribute the best that he could. So that showed that he wanted to be better in that aspect. Now, this is not as far as the sleeping around with women. That's just something that he still was working on, right? Or trying to work on, but got triggered whenever they got into one of their arguments or whatever and things like that. But Zach was trying to become a better man, a better provider, a better person that can motivate himself to go and do better. You know what I mean? And so with that being said, he also wanted to be better in his relationship. He just, was kind of running into this particular issue, so to speak, that he had in regards to not, in regards to cheating. And that's not to give any type of, leeway or excuse for it. That's just an issue that he's dealing with, and he needs strength in that area. Now, that don't give you the freedom to go and jack up everybody else's feelings by sleeping with everybody because you're working on your issue. You just need to put some more effort and work on your issue and go find some help and all that kind of stuff. But so if you look at that, and then you look at Fatima had been out of a relationship, but she was going through a healing process, and no, it wasn't perfect. Like, same thing. She kind of was pushing relationships out of the way, but she was still in a process of healing. So what I'm saying is, from that same theory of you attracting who you are a flawed person who is trying to work through their wounds and get better for themselves so they can possibly, find a relationship and kind of meet the person that's where they are, in their journey. And I say that to say that Fatima and Zach attracted each other because they were, again, who they are. They both were people who are flawed people, but who are working on themselves to better themselves in one way or another. And what happened was, the way that Fatima was working on herself in her area of weakness, which was trust in men, right? Zach came along and strengthened that area because he was able to tell her that I'm willing to put forth the effort to make sure that I don't hurt you purposefully. Right? Like, I'm not going to cheat on you. Like, when they had the conversation in season 3, when he was like, when Fatima asked him after they had sex that night, like, are we going to talk about that, last night? And the first thing he was like, well, what's up? And she was like, they had a conversation basically about being in a relationship with one another. And he was like, I do have love for Karen, but I'm not in love with her. But what do you want me to do? The first thing that she said was, I don't want you to have sex with her. And so that was her explaining and telling him, this is my, this is the issue that I have, right? Because her last relationship, old boy was cheating on her with his ex. He was still with his ex. And so she's telling Zach, this is the area this is basically my deal breaker. I'm not doing this. And if I feel that way, and I won't feel safe. And so if you want to come and you want to be the dude that I'm with, and you want to try this relationship, then I need to know that I can feel safe with you. And I don't, you know what I mean? Because of what you just did with Karen. So what did Zach do? He told her, okay, so what if I tell you that as long as me and you are building something, I won't even talk to her? That was Zach, again, making forth and showing her, I'm willing to put forth some effort and work on my issue to get over my issue for you. You know what I mean? So that was them, both showing that they were in a place of walking through a healing journey. They attracted each other because they were the same in that aspect. So you attract who you are. I'm a flawed person who's trying and putting forth the effort to be healed. That's who they attracted in one another. So think about that. You know what I mean? And so it's just like and I'm using these two couples because these are the major couples that everybody is comparing for those who do not follow the channel or the TV show, that everybody's comparing apples to oranges to me, because there is no comparison, in all honesty, because Fatima and Zach, as I've said, they are fully invested in their relationship. Now they are learning and figuring out what that means and what that looks like to them, but they are both mutually in love with one another. Where when you go over to the Karen and Aaron conversation in coupleship, so to speak, and I say couple very loosely, because after Karen slept with Zach and Aaron kind of started coming back around, Karen never really put herself back in a relationship with him. He was no longer staying over her house. He was no longer, she actually even was like, you didn't call, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of telling him, like, you don't get to come over here uninvited. And that's not somebody who's in a relationship. Like, you went from having a key and having full access to this woman's house to now she wants you to call before you come over. There was nothing in Karen that was trying to show she wanted to be in or continue an actual relationship with Aaron. She wanted him around because he was like a placeholder, and she didn't want to come off alone. And she still really felt like if he was around, Zach would be triggered because he would be jealous. And so she used Aaron, and Aaron basically allowed himself to be used. Now, here's the other mirror that people don't want to put forth or look at, is that Karen, everything that she told and called Zach, she was calling him a hoe because he was out there sleeping with all these other women when he was in a relationship with her. She literally turned herself into who Zach was while he was with her. And that's one of the reasons why she's also ticked off, I believe, because you and that's why I said, even in one of my videos, like, she tried to go off on him and tell him, like, you a hoe and you over here asking me, like, for a DNA test. Well, yeah, because you slept with two men unprotected within enough time, because depending on, some people say a week because the dialogue says a week, but the outfits and things like that, it says it's a day. Within that's a short time frame of another, so that you don't really know for sure who your baby daddy is, and you want to call Zach a hoe because he was sleeping with multiple women while he was dating you. But the truth of the matter is, if true enough, like, he was in a committed relationship with you, but you kept taking him back. And that's the other reason why Karen is mad. And that's the other reason why Karen feels like she's entitled to certain things that Zach has, because she's like, I endured everything that you put me through, but that was her decision. Aaron, same thing. He continues to come back after Karen disrespects him, cheated on him in his face. Like, this ain't hearsay. He walked in. And so anyway, that just was a question that kind of came up in, or a thought that I was thinking about as I was trying to figure out what else to bring to the channel. And it was something that I got in prayer a long time ago. And like I said, one of the ministers that I follow brought that conversation up, and it just was very mind blowing to me, because we truly do attract who we are. And it's not about perfection. It's about like what part of the journey you're on in your spiritual growth and development. If you're in the process of being healed, then you will attract those people who are in the process of being healed. Now, don't get me wrong, because the enemy is the enemy. So he gonna absolutely try to throw in a counterfeit and see if you'll take the bait. But if you will stand strong and continue to move forward and get and work through your process of being healed, you will, for those people who are out there single and desire a relationship, attract people who are, you will attract who you are. And I don't even know if that's just in relationships. I feel like it's business minded too, because if you think about it, like people who are like friends who are growing in their businesses and things like that together, they are all business minded. Like you get into those circles and you're not hearing nobody talk about somebody, because I don't have time to talk about nobody and what they doing and how their life is going when I'm over here trying to put my life and business together and things like that. So you see what I'm saying? So you don't attract people who are gossiping. You know what I'm saying? You attract people because those things no longer, if they ever did, they don't stimulate you, right? Like I'm over here trying to build a business and build an empire and build legacy and everything. So you're drawn to those things and those people are drawn to those things in you. Why? Because iron sharpens iron. So anyway, just kind of wanted to bring that thought. Let me know what you guys think about it. I don't know. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Do you believe that, you attract who you are? And again, I'm not saying this is not a perfection kind of conversation. This is not a judgmental conversation. I don't believe, for me, my relationship with Abba is he always corrects me as a father. And that is through love first, right? And so when he dropped that revelation in my spirit and allowed me to hear it taught and articulated, it wasn't because he was trying to like pop my hand and chastise me. He was bringing course correction. Listen, daughter, I want you to understand that you attract who you are. And so if you're wounded, then you're going to attract those wounded people. You know what I mean? But if you're walking through your healing process, then you will attract those people who are also in a healing process. And you will most likely be turned off from those who are still operating outside of wounds, because you realize I've been there and I don't want to live there no more, right? So anyway, let me know what you think about it. Definitely would love to hear different perspectives and thought processes on it. Again, this is not a channel where we bash each other because we don't agree. We can agree to disagree. I'm definitely open to other insight and wisdom regarding different perspectives and things like that. So let's get into a conversation. Once again, this is Soul and Screen, so we will always utilize different teachings from gain something, insights from various TV shows, movies, and things, storylines like that to bring to the channel to discuss. If you see a show or a movie that you would recommend that I check out to bring something to the channel, to bring some more substance and content to the channel, let me know. I appreciate it. Other than that, I will talk to you later. See you down in the comments. Please feel free, as always, to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.